start now. I'll mute you, Jim.
Lamadang gombo jenzu jambe yala jazalo kange londru drenye drendu nida nanda rabzalo jenye dungu jeje zenju Nidhi toga lebam kanda zebe zeramare mondonga jizero dozo gonla boji darat yelan joju yande Dodar Jedro Yomonino Dege Jadu Doze Mare Munze Tunganyo Jine Jede Dene Daje Saju Darsu Yedele zo jaze dove Joda joda joni yend Ale manze jan Yala du marabazana Om Arabazanani Zeden Jede Jeravazeren Ale Demo Mumbarazan Kadan Denje Shalo Doban Lord Bode Now Saldoson Kanze Dawaram de Bam Jose Jewaram de Nayam Ombo Jamya de Nyen Keme Boryan Dowarisho Ola Sotine Namge Tadanyambe Simjen Tamje Tungal Tamje Le Dalde Ne Sanje Gobar Rinpoche Langobar Kyo Nyambe Kulungi Sal Tamle Simbarshu Dela Da Kanje Sambarcha Vichu Di Rimbani Kyase Chanjo Samba Namge Chobola Lapsul Chenji Malo Borra Tembi Tenju Chenju Ki Kumrim Rapsar Nyema Shejawa Dinere Deni La Sache Namba Hi Yubinana Tanda Ngazo Da Jorwa Sanamilu Sumba Dila Atu Tere Sumba De Zo Parjin Tubi Kone Sumba Yoba Yindu Ngazo Chenba Dang Suljumni Shu Chubche Tatiring Ngazo Soba Yuko La Fiji Shigin
Give rise to pure intent. Start by engendering the mind of bodhicitta, wishing to dedicate these studies for the benefit of all beings whose number is as vast as the sky is. And then in that spirit, listen to the teachings. We're studying a text, commentary on the profound and unmistaken treatise, that of Bodhicaryavatara. And our commentary, our guide to meditating, is entitled The Brightly Shining Sun. There, among the 3 topics, we have finished the first 2. Now we're looking at the third one, which is the practices, how to follow the trainings of a bodhisattva. And here, this third topic, the third subject, pertains to the 6 paramitas, among which we have finished looking at the first 2, that of generosity and discipline. And now we'll continue with the third one, the paramita of patience.
Sumba sobe parul do chimbala sobe yul tala nyebar chebadang se tsumma wadang kono minyambar mawa tongal chebadang shi songdu ta soba kazangoma ngazo mitro wa ham sem kong mitro ba jila ne soba reyas ni shuba ba jede ta soba komza yul ane kandere sidizana so yul ni nishu sabshi roje songre nishu sabshi de kandere lamna sobe yul tala nyebar chebada de 다 소비 유니슈 자시지 송당도 대송도 소율데 미카야 룸바직다 미나다 다스 랑마이 메셴게 소소라 녜주 제바 톱저 당바 아니 만년 가요 제발라서보다 된데 있나 아니 대적은 유 강사대 당 된저제 내술데 내 소율지그래서 근데 저쪽 마와 어느 소소 선배 태가로 너에게 계정 미년 버전의 시야여와 그런 독자라 그런 여보미도 나서 버제 직주보 어디 랑마이 메신지다 가르시기는 대시비 율 시간다 대시비 초전도 돼데 그냥 소보 검사제 율지그래서 그래 아니 꼭도 미년 버마와 태가 직담나 마셔봐자 는 잡자 잡데 발라는 지코지레 코니레스나 계좌 도자다 아무나 랍되게 바이나 하소서 하고서나 대양 서버 검사제 율지를 숨바래 아니 셰바데 동al 워쳐봐 소절로든 대가 동화다 대바당 아니 내가 가르쳤잖아요 바르제당 바당 소소제 자와 가르쳤잖아요 다들 직직 투즈 전에 디상말 가는 민족 바지 소간 서로지 용어도 와 간다 민지 소소 류당 하라데 내가 제 칼렉트건지 거고 요래 무슨 칼렉트는다 슈스 칼렉트는다 다 아무라지 다데 동al 워쳐봐라 와 어딘서 제디 가서 소비율 달랍되네 니 시레 쓰기래 다디오는 소비율 인거가 김전데 나랑서 제된나 된조 제디셔서나 메서 도제지로와 네 다래 나는 너바 제고도 딱콜랑 네 렌지 말로는 드마송 나라 니제지는 네 팔라 니제지겠어 나라 측줍지시는 가 팔라 니셰겠어 공알 공의 측줍 카시셔서는 가 팔라 망지셰겠어 미 카시 된다는 텐스 그래 출락강에 돈데 동을 워쳐와이나 팔아다 알아 쳐버렸어 네 냠중제 되는데 냠중 마음마시 그래 팔아 다냠 쳐서는 되는 거 매버 쳐서 아주 제대로 되는 땡게 요래 다 단다 죄나는 그제 시행도 다 되는데 내가 말했어 그래 와 소바 공부해서 그래 공로랑게 말했어 그래 가이스 되잖아 다오면은 소바솔라 컴 되네 전전 자오 가라나 여러와 던 솔라 칼레 타겐다 니저 체겐다 되네면서는 소바 코메라고 말해 소바 카메 마라나 장주 선배람 바로도 좀 주지 냠는데 조투고요 말해 너바 자간다 칼레 타겐 제지미 저 거기도 와 던너바 타겐다 칼레 타겐다 칼레레 도자레 텐션 다 소바 많이 받쳐서래 다 간데 거랬으면 엄마양 로디 중중 로디 누누지 쇼바이나 엄마다 건바질라 아니 건바지다 진치로 되발라 타와지도 검점이 쇼여사래 아니 미지도 스코라 점도데 아니 저랑 가리 제게서가 소바 공부에 나그래 양고 거라지 점들라 다 저랑 가르쳐 그랬으나 뒤에 양가 소바 공부에 나그래 양 데데 태 코코라 잡나를 탐바래 뒤에 젤라 때는 타바도 쓰고사래 가 소바 공부에 라인 봐서 좀갈 가르쳐서 맞다 디로이나 가셔서 그 당부 소바 야부 그 묘지로 와 갈래갈래가 소바도 쉬었어다 콩도랑 살서 내내 지금 말해 소바서도 내줄 강에 가래 도바이나야 콩도 말랑와지 쭉쭉다 맨 알아서 소소제 인도 콩도 랑스 그래도 콩도지 균디 매보고 그래. 다 닝나도 숨 건진 전에 때는 교수를 뭘 하도 건 도아이나 때 레망버지 싸도 그러지. 저는 좀 봐서 쭉쭉쭉이 랑스기래. 아주 상제 매바 인도 공도를 그래. 이나 공도지 균데 남성 뭐 공도라 공도에 망고진 전에 균데 매봐서 그래. 답주는 공도 랑게 매봐. 대다 맞으나 공도지 균데 가샤고 도와. 그 된대진 않는 소바 공도 그래. 네 강에 가르토바 이나야 이거 나 강에 대 당도랑도 그래. 당도랑도 손남 쪽으로 저거로 와. 나서
So let's look at the parameter of patience. Remember, what is this parameter? What is the essence of parameter of patience? Well, in essence, this parameter is our undisturbed mind. And here the text presents us with 24 situations, or we can say 24 objects of patience. So 24 situations where we have to develop patience. Right? That's the ones that were, the situations that call for our practice of patience. And we will look at those. So here the text starts by stating that there are various situations that require our patience, beginning with the following 4. So out of 24, right, the first 4 happens to us, to ourselves. When someone treats us with contempt, when addresses us with harsh words, slanders us behind our back, or causes us pain. And we're going to look at those, right? We just read these 4 lines on page 22 of our text. So whenever someone, and by someone it could be really anyone but us, like anyone. So when someone treats us with contempt, when we, get disparaged by someone belittles us, looks down at us, kind of like treats us with disdain, right? That would be the first situation that requires our patience. The other one, when someone addresses us with harsh words. Well, basically when someone verbally abuses us and tells us directly to our face that we are, well, you can fill the blanks there, that we are nasty and, we're just horrible, whatever, some kind of verbal abuse. The third situation, when someone slanders us behind our back and we come to know it, right? When we hear that someone was talking really bad about us behind our back. And lastly, when someone causes us pain. So the last one is basically when someone harms us physically, kind of like directly, or could be indirectly. Of course, directly would mean like beats us, right? Kicks us. But also could be someone who creates obstacles for us, makes our life difficult, so that somehow it hindrances what we do, what we say, and so it harms us indirectly, but it's still harm. It's still pain, right? Anyone who basically inflicts pain upon us, like by directly physically, abusing us, or kind of creates, problems, makes our life more difficult. So these 4 that happens when they happen to us, that's the first 4 situations that require our patience. So why are those considered to be the objects of patience, this 4 situations that call for patience? Because, if we think about how we are, how worldly people are, how, things are considered in the world, when such situations take place, they're considered horrible, right? And those harm doers, abusers, considered to be like enemies. And so we basically, in the world, we are called to retaliate, harm, right? If they say one nasty word about us, we absolutely think that we need to say 2 in return, like, if they slander us, we also, of course, will gossip and will, start, talking even worse than they talked about us. Basically, somehow the worldly perspective is that we absolutely need to take revenge and defend ourselves, and the best would be if we retaliate harm, right? It's kind of like annihilate those enemies, really like destroy them. But in Buddhism, it's not the case. Actually, in the Buddha Dharma, it's reversed. And we consider those situations and those harm doers as the great opportunities for our practice of patience. Because you see, in order to achieve enlightenment, we absolutely have to practice all 6 paramitas. There's no Buddhahood without accomplishing 6 transcendent perfections. Now, how are we going to accomplish the practice of patience, of the paramita of patience, if we don't have those kind of situations in our life? And so as practitioners, as those who strive to achieve this perfection of enlightenment, we actually welcome these kind of situations in our lives so that they, regard them as precious opportunities that help us to accomplish the practice of patience. And of course, the point is here is to actually really not to get disturbed, just not to retaliate harm, but inside, boiling with rage, like, not showing it to others for whatever reason. That's not paramita of patience, right? There's a short story, just a, very short story to tell about how it could be. There's a story of a monk who was doing circumambulation of stupa. We actually we kind of walk around holy objects today, right? And through this kind of circumambulation, we accumulate merit. And that's a practice for Buddhists. It's a side note for those who, maybe are new to that. So the monk was kind of walking, we call it kora, circumambulation around the stupa. And another monk stopped him and was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, well, actually, I'm practicing patience. That's that's kind of my practice these days. He's like, okay, great. Because it's a circumambulation. So like 5 minutes later, he runs into the same monk who was just standing. He kind of finished his round, and the monk again, like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, okay, well, maybe he didn't get it first time. I'm practicing patience. He's like, oh, great, great. So third time the monk stops, and the other one, so what's your practice? And the guy just loses. He's like, what's wrong with you? I told you I'm practicing patience. Well, here goes his practice of patience. Maybe he didn't practice it for a few circumambulation, but when he got annoyed, he actually lost his practice. So that's how it is. Sometimes we start and then, doing well, but the idea is that we actually keep remaining, in that state rather than getting frustrated or annoyed, right? And of course, we are just humans and we do get angry. I mean, it's not the idea that, oh, from now on, we'll never lose our temper. But the idea is that we don't feed this anger. And we, by no means, we start holding grudge. So the thing is that when we have this, first reaction, this kind of, we got triggered and we get like upset or angry, we can notice that. And instead of, feeding that and sort of start holding onto that and only, making it stronger, we have to let go. So that's the idea here, because we, for as long as we're not enlightened, we're going to lose our temper, and we're going to get angry here and there. And, the practice would be then to right away notice and let go, rather than like holding on to it and ruminating about, oh, he said this and no, and she did that. And then only solidifying it furthermore until we actually holding grudge, right? Wherever we go for days, we kind of holding onto that situation that happened to us, right? Justifying it and keep kind of feeding it. And this is not then the practice of patience, right? And so in this way, we, if we actually capable of welcoming the situation when we get disparaged or verbally abused or slandered or harmed, then through patience, through getting undisturbed, we come to accumulate a lot of merit. Yeah, this practice actually results in a lot of merit. Mm-hmm.
So, ini tak lama da za she so la te dar shi che ba na ne chi ba ji ya so zo ji lama inare tobo inare pama inare nyen nye kor inare so so da nye wo yu ken me la ani nye je da se zu da ko de minyen ba na tongal che ba shi chung wa ina tiang a so ba kom sa de yul re se be je za re ne ta ge ta da me dun cho la da wa che ba da nga zo me dun je den me de ro yong ro wa so so je ta wa da so so je me dun cho so so ju dok cho yin ge me dun zo ani 대화 중 와다 기부 중소나 양 공로라 용그래 다 대양 서버 검사지 유지로와 아니 다나 진짜 된소 쇼된소라 네kur 네바다 쿠르다 폰은 서버 야부 중소나 대라양 가서 되네 공로라 용그래 메가와 제기로와 아니 대 소주 임든 줄라 대양 가서 바다 야부 중소나 대양 아 그래서 그래 공로랑의 이 시직사 그래 ane nyambar mawa da khonzo kyara chumbo cha me sangma de khonzo yakbo ki la khonzo yi keche sangbo de chok chi samje la kyab yongdu yang samla mega wa de yonggo yore rai da ta changju samla nyam chwe nyamlin chegen ye kansa je yina da dinzo sobo komza yul da ngone yakbo wa da dende chung yongdu zana de la mega wa ma je ba ma sa tan gawa che ko ba da khondo la mingu lang minne ba khondo malang ba je so ko gu yore so top so na ane da soba de kala kala ya nyamne ya bo cha do be ta min ju de ti yo ya la ma zo be zon che ko re yes na so
So then we continue with our objects of patience among the 24. Then the text states, similarly, when these four are done to our teachers or our friends and relatives, so that would be another four, basically same situation. So it's the same, situations of contempt, verbal abuse, slander, and harm. But when they happen to our close ones, those that we care for, our teachers, our family members, our relatives, our friends, and anyone that we kind of consider as like my people, like my, right? My friends, my family, my teacher, right? This my. So we sort of think they, they're close to us. And therefore we also, we react to these situations, right? When this happens to our loved ones. And so that would be another form. And then the text continues, and it reads that when our enemies and those who oppose us find pleasure and well-being. So now the next form after this 8, we, the situations that happen to our enemies. So beings that we really dislike, we don't get along with. And when we find out that they actually, as it says here, found pleasure and well-being, when they are pleased with something in their lives, yeah, but we, that would be first situation when our enemies are pleased, and usually we don't like that. Generally, in the world, people, when they hear someone they really like, dislike, and now they're like really well off and happy, we get annoyed, right? That would be one situation. Another one, when they receive honors and rewards. So not only our enemies are pleased, but they're also honored, right? They maybe they become famous. So there's this kind of honor, and they become the sort of like well-known people. We also get annoyed when they are offered praise. So when they're praised, and when people speak well of them, right? So when they basically someone speaks very pleasantly of our enemies and adversaries, we don't like that. That's, I mean, not like we don't like that, but generally, here's like a general statement. Of course, it's only a generalization, but in the world, like a kind of a mundane way of considering these situations generally would be like to get annoyed, because we don't want our adversaries to get ahead of us and get better off, and we, so we kind of we have this kind of dislike, or we can say anger, annoyance. And what do the practitioners of Buddhism do? Practitioners of the Dharma, again, they practice, right? It's not happening right away, but they train themselves day after day, to see such situations as precious opportunities, and on top of not getting annoyed by them, actually trying to rejoice. This is also a great moment to rejoice in happiness and well-being of others, even if, those that we consider our enemies, right? If they liked, if they praised, if they honored, spoken well of. So this, a practitioner considers those events as great opportunities for practice. And of course, with time, it takes time and it takes some effort. This practice, practice of patience is not going to come about without us really putting forth effort. It's it's definitely not an easy one, but the more we really cultivate patience, the more we'll notice in our lives that less and less we get angry. There will be this sign that we are actually progressing in our practice of patience. Yeah, we will notice that we get less annoyed when such things happen that were just mentioned. Yeah, the 12 situations.
대답을 녹반 너바 주니데 개저버데 소베율 니슈 사시오 다데 샴바 주니데 단다지 독쇼데 다다 중심난 저기 요래 베나 소소라 다디 가르서 그래 대화 고고 요래 기부 고고 요래 네토바 고고 요래 냠버마 고고 요래 다오딘졸라 책줍당 미냠바나 동알와당 니저 고고 요래 다 제로지 고고 요발라 덴젤라 바르제샤고 요바이나 아니 양가서 공로랑 연구로와 소소년 년 예거는 다 소소나 저버지냐로와 되고 딘졸라 바르도 줘봐나 딘졸라 믿은 줘줘나 양 믿게버자고 요래 딘졸라 양은 소보 더 소보 검사도 율인도잖아 돈명도잖아 소리 슈삽시다다 차도도 와서 그래서
So we have seen 12 situations that require our patience, and now in addition there are also those situations in which there are opposites. The 12 desirable circumstances are prevented from occurring. So that would make a total of 24 opportunities for us to practice patience. So how to count the other 12? Well, we just take the first 12 and reverse that. And when the obstacle to these reverse situations, or we can say, yes, when the obstacle to the reverse situations happen, that will be a good, opportunity to practice patience. For example, well, the first among 12 was when someone treats us with contempt, right? Second, harsh words, then slander, then cause pain. We reverse that. That's something that we desire. We desire to be, treated well, right? Treated with honors. We desire that someone not verbally abuses us, but speaks really well to us. We desire that behind our back, people praise us. We desire that people, not cause us pain, but actually sort of help us, that, we are happy. They help us to be happy. We desire those things. Now, when obstacles to those things happen, when, someone creates an obstacle for our well-being, someone creates obstacle for our praise, for our honor, for our happiness, we're almost about to get it, but someone comes and kind of reverses it. That's the time, that's the opportunity for us to practice patience. Same would be for our loved ones, absolutely, yeah? When they're about to get this honors, praise, well-being, happiness, right? Gain something, and then someone obstructs that. That would be a moment when we generally would get really annoyed and angry, but here, as practitioners of Dharma, that's for us a golden moment to practice patience. Another 8. And then with the enemies, well, what do we want for them? We want for them to be treated with contempt, to be verbally abused, to be slandered, to be harmed. So that's kind of a desirable situation for, and then when that is somehow, prevented from occurring, yeah, someone prevents our enemies from being treated badly, etc., being harmed and so on, that's also would be an opportunity. So you see, we take these 12, we actually reverse them, so they become desirable situations, and then when they are somehow prevented, obstructed from happening, that would be a time to practice patience.
So, the Teda relation young Gyunzen Dang, Gyu Teda Lechung, Tungal Mikyo, Tungal Dane, that in Regi, Sun Yeshi Las, Nesu Damana, Tu Yondu, and then Zokazu Tanga Zokange, Lula Kange Yongsugere, Samla Kange Yongsugere, Nesu Damana Tusugere, Tenzo Samanta, Gyunzen, Yabo Samla Dangurati, Kange Denzo Kawana Chung Residu, Sozo Samnes Chungu Yore, Sozo Samju Shabare. 아니 단다 셈지 스웨샤저람나 칼하보레데 몰라 나조지 셈지 깨징아망아마 균망보 요도 하오레 디 깨징아마 균 가야로바데네 칠라 나조레 간 가야로바데네 사요도 요라 디 레지 남바음바디 아니 다자 뇽도고요레 제디 가야사나 산제지 레 지나민 데살라밍게 마레 돌라미게 마레 폼봉아이 아니 균 당템베 강살라 민게레 송용데 다 소소지 제빌레데 소소 민용고 요래 데인데 나랑게 제샤고 일레나민데 다는 용고 요다 가오래 찌 다는 알아서 이진 당 섬지되는 나코 야가 도가 나집고 고고도 코도가 도고도 라서바 텐데지 넘버 섬지 전바 요천절라 강에 가지나 타래 요 말해 강에 나라 주대 그래 강에를 제로도 두고 말해 데인데 다 중서 시상 뭐 가르쳐서 나 생각 증거데 차소아 데 동알지 중서지 유원에데 나래데 요래 와 된데 인도 이 동알지다 지 중바 탐제 나란 이가 짐발라 된데 중바래샤 산제다 장조선만 넘어 상제당 건도 살람 유는 통보 차야당 건조 방도 다르체데 랑서가 짐바데 마 르당 현자 준비 집발라 된데 중바래 와 된데 섬라데 강에 동알도 가르쳐네 다른 제네 도그래 손베게자래 당한len 제스도잖아 딱강을렘나 렙주 계적해 말 강을렘나 양 되게래데 렙버텔라 삼나당 고그러와 베나 소부 나자지 총소나 야 땡원지 레인유래 나랑기 자왕엠바 뭐버제 그러디 레 다신 바래 딜 자왕엠바든지 단다 타그레지 거가 버라 버렸어 맨주 맞아 쓰기게 말아와 맨주 제초 그래 디 잡 탑졌단 거 그래 내 나자 담으로 좀 그래 땡원 동알지 창마인 버시는데 가오 공부래 대화도 기부 좀 봐야는데 내 상보진 저용 말 딜라양 가고 공부래 근데 미상마지 내주제 강년부터 미지돌아 출라 미솔라 된대 중국에나야 대양 나랑 게 레지 넘버 뭐 뭐지 다 다도도 다에 과거 약부저 라서 남냠네 가고 공부래 어때도 기부 가래 주나양 남도 철셔버지 고그래 손도 계절에 나서
Then the text continues, and it reads that when any of these occur, we must avoid becoming disheartened by the events themselves or the suffering they bring, and instead accept the suffering. Slightly some few things missing in the translation from Tibetan. The text states that when we shouldn't get disheartened, right? We shouldn't grow weary due to the suffering. And then the text states in Tibetan that arises from these kind of causes and conditions, that arises due to reasons. And then we can actually, understanding that, readily take up this suffering. So we need to understand the reasons, the causes of the suffering. So when these kind of difficult situations, when troubles befall us, when we're faced with pain, it could be mental, physical, right? Any kind of situation that is undesirable. We need to reflect on the reasons and understand that right now our, suffering mostly created by our own mind. We're not saying that the suffering created by the mind of this present moment, but rather by the previous accumulation of karma, by the previous actions. As the Buddha said, our actions are not going to let me start again. The effects of our actions are not going to ripen on a stone, right? Not going to ripen on any inanimate object, but the effects are going to ripen on this continuum of the same, 5 physical and mental aggregates known as skandha in Sanskrit. This kind of our continuum of our body, of our minds, of our perception, consciousness, right? Is this continuum of this kind of 5 physical and mental aggregates. And that's where the karma is going to ripen. And basically what we mean by mind's creation, yeah, why is mind creating suffering? Well, because if we really dig, down, and we see that, we'll come to see that the reason for us, being not free of the suffering and pain is that we grasp. Our mind constantly, operates within this dualistic framework. This is good and I want it. This is bad, I don't want this. This is happiness, I desire it. This is suffering, it should be avoided. And with this kind of constant, grasping and reification, we can never find freedom, because there's always I at the center of the stage. It's I don't want this, I want this. This is good for me, it's not good for me. For as long as there's this I, the self, in the center, it will always cause us suffering and pain. If we look at the Buddhist bodhisattvas, why are they free of suffering? They still experience, the bodhisattvas are with us in samsara, and yet they are not subjected to this kind of agonies and miseries as we do. Well, we can see that they actually reverse that grasping, and instead of grasping to themselves as most important, now they treat others. They cherish others as more important than themselves. And when this focus switches of, the focus of the mind that usually for ordinary beings really just, kind of constantly, the focus is constantly directed at the self and cherishing the self and wanting to protect self and wanting good for self, then there is a lot of suffering that comes from that. But whenever the, focus, the attention is directed to others and their well-being, actually, whatever happens is okay. Such a practitioner welcomes anything that happens to oneself, right? It doesn't mean that a practitioner invites suffering. Okay, when it says here in the text that we accept the suffering, right, that's happened with this kind of events, undesired events, this is not to say that a practitioner goes out really looking for troubles. Yeah, it's just that when it's already happening due to previously accumulated causes and conditions, so it's not going to be reversed. It's going to ripen on the same continuum of the same being who had accumulated, those actions previously. So that's how karma is. The practitioner understands it and thinks, okay, that's so wonderful. Right now, for this kind of pain, this kind of trouble, this kind of sickness, my previously accumulated karma is going to be purified. Well, again, this is not to say that when this situation happens, when someone, finds oneself being severely sick, and one is like, great, now I'm going to endure this, hardship and pain so that I purify my karma. It is not to say that one shouldn't go to a hospital, one shouldn't take medicine, this is not. One should, if it's needed, if it's called on, you should, go to hospital, take medicine, do surgery. But meanwhile, this is about the mind training, right? One understands that this kind of pain, this kind of sickness, it's not like, oh, why me? Why me? Why did it happen to me? Well, it's not kind of a, practitioner doesn't wonder that. Practitioner knows like, wow, this is just what's, my karma is ripening right now. And through ripening, it's getting exhausted. So it's a great opportunity for me to exhaust my negative karma from before. And in this way, a practitioner welcomes and accepts actually anything that happens to oneself. Happiness as well, not only suffering. Anything that befalls one, good times, bad times, pain or happiness. A person who trains one's mind in this way, such a practitioner welcomes all those events, and through this kind of training of one's mind, one takes happiness and suffering onto the path, they become the situations that can be transformed into the path towards enlightenment.
So, ini 제법보 강사라 미토 와 뇌질의 지민년 바사 니데 당아주 네 미지가 출라 뇌바께와이나 남상 미딜라는 공로라 용그래 디에네 공로 남사데 너로레 쓰기래 그래서 콜라라오여 말해라 가르치는데도 코지 류지 남주당 류지 자와체고바데 코선지 왕도 쇼로와 강사데 선 공로당 선 샤당당 근데 차도 라조베 아니 징대여래 대징비 또기 아니 류가지 현라 너바자와데지 남발레 연구여래 대인도 당원에 공로 랑콜라더니 너바자 고고여나 강사디 소소로 너바자는 강사디 샘지 도자 샤당 때모 가자 차도로와 대난에 소소 담너바자는 뭐디 공로당 차도당 전선된저지 차도로 딜 너바자로 딜메바소고로와 배나 나저 키질라 도 잡가르잖아 키디 도 잡은 미간라 총갈리가 말이 도디 간라 총도 돌어서 잡아도 그래 근데 제서는 펜도셔라면도와 생계도 지금 딱지랑 아주 도 잡아르잖아 도당 죽박간라 총도 말해 죽박당 도치레건 미 잡은 소리도 미디 간라 총도 그래 아주 들어져 그래 강서 수부지 남줄 간라 총도야 말해 셈 간라 총거로 와 대전주 거라나라 가르송으로 다 사저 상마 매저 사람만 망보도 사저 빼 강바 사람만 망보도 강발로 수고도 딱깔리 쉬우도 땅아 잠불 사저 강보 고아 요기 남나 라사게 말에 깔레 카로레 진짜 소소 강발 한 거지 거는 로다 깔레 가지 말에 로야 치드네 코가로 너버자고 디타메 버소 디 지진너버 디타메 버소 괜찮은데 다음에 봐서 투비아요 말해. 다음에 봐서 답시 약쇼 and 소소지 샘데 상마서야 돼. 그런 데를 약 전도요나 안나바 제간 미디 샘데 상마서고 그래. dinero sem zangma soyare do so bu zangma so so na ta me cha kai maro pe na ma cha bar chin mi chik san ni le go ni san sum le gre ta mang do cha gre ma do zangma cha sa na ga la khobor wa sem zangma ji so gar ja so na ka de na ya ta me ba cha gre je du dongal teken ji kangsa de non ju yo ma re ko je sem de non ju re ngara ya kangal she de ne su bu ji non ju ba nga ju sem ji non ju re sem zangma ta ma yo na 는 갈라가이면 도와 그거 제도 다 돈도 빼져 돈다로데 너바 제겐 강사디 셈 콜라든 야는 인제 공고로 와 거기 공하jal당 타도당 전선로서 보고도 쉬었네 미나 너바자도 그 랭가 버지 사래 랭가 버지 사인도 그 나민데 명고로 와 팔 인제 거메지 율을 마도 봐 공들라서 율거라 말아도 알라 그래 근데 제도는 동아대 당도 랑고래 송연사래 나서
We must not become angry with those involved, but disregard the harm they do to us and settle the mind in meditation upon the reality of profound emptiness. So we must not become angry with those involved. We shouldn't retaliate harm, and we shouldn't even get disturbed in our minds by the harm done to us by others. And the reason is that we need to reflect that in those difficult situations, we need to reflect on on what's really happening, and we will come to understand that the person who harms us has no control, meaning that their own body, their speech, if they verbally abuse us, if they physically harm us, is governed by their minds, where their minds in return are governed by their disturbing emotions. Basically, the person is bound by his or her ignorance, jealousy, anger. Like, we look at them, they harm us because they themselves are miserable. They themselves are bound by those afflictive emotions. And, they don't have freedom, like they're actually slaves to those afflictions. And if we really need to harm someone, like we actually need to, if we need to kind of retaliate harm, we need to harm in return the actual harm doer. And the actual harm doer is the afflictive emotions of that person. So if we really want to harm the actual harm doer, we need to annihilate anger of that person, ignorance of that person, attachment of that person, because it's those afflictive emotions that are the actual harm doers. It's like if we take an analogy here, like a dog. If someone throws a stick at the dog, what does the dog do? It runs after the stick. It doesn't run after the person who throws a stick or stone. It runs after the stick or stone. Well, what about a lion? If someone throws a stick at the lion, the lion actually is not going to run after a stick. It's going to run straight at the person who threw a stick at the lion. So we need to be like lions. We need to kind of run after the actual harm doer, not like a dog running after the stick, because the stick was propelled by someone else, right? The lion looks directly at who was this propelling force rather than this kind of stick. So we need to look at what propels others to harm us. The harm is a stick, but their disturbing emotions, their ignorance is this, propelling force. And this would be the right way to consider it. And as Bodhicaryavatara, the way of the Bodhisattvas, itself, it states, there's a very famous verse there that states that, if the whole world is covered with thorns, it's impossible for us to cover the whole world with leather to protect our feet. If everywhere we go, there's this thorns and rocks, and we can't really make it even. But what we can do, we can cover our feet with leather, thick leather. So wherever we go, we are fine. Instead of trying to cover the whole world, we need to cover only our feet. Make a shoe, good shoes, and then we are fine. So in the same way, we cannot annihilate all of our enemies, all the beings we dislike, everyone who harms us. If we annihilate one, another will come. We try to, destroy this one, the whole family will come after us. It's like, trying to really manipulate this outer circumstances, or actually trying to destroy, enemies, will only result in increasing difficult situations, having to deal with all the families in return. If think of a war, you annihilate one enemy, the whole army comes. There's never an end to trying to control outer circumstances, outer people who harm us. We can't. But we can control our own minds and our reactions. This we can do. Just like, we cannot cover the whole world, but we can cover our feet to protect ourselves. So here we can also purify our own minds. And if our minds are cleansed of anger, of grudge, then whenever we go, we will never have any enemies. We're just not going to make them, because we're not going to regard anyone as our enemy. And so it's the mind's mistake here that we really experience this pain. The suffering, it's of our reaction to the situation. If we only were to accept the situation, actually this kind of the layer of us agonizing over it will be gone, because it's done by our own minds. So we can purify our minds. So whenever the situation befall us, the difficult situations, well, if our minds are pure, it's not a difficult situation anymore. And also, if we can also help to purify the minds of others, those beings that harm us, we can actually, help them, because the real harm doer is their attachment, is their anger, is their jealousy, is their ignorance. And so the pain is caused by those kind of afflictive emotions. And if we can help to purify the minds of others, that's again, the harm will be gone. And when we see beings who are propelled by these difficult states of mind, who are themselves are not free, who are themselves are miserable. Instead of getting angry, we cultivate compassion. We understand that this is a good reason for feel compassion for these beings because they themselves are so miserable. You know, they are governed, they don't have freedom, they're enslaved by their afflictive emotions, by their ego clinging, by their karma. And so they are actually an object of compassion rather than being an object of our anger. So in this way, we train our minds so that we can accept the suffering and we don't become angry with those involved.
So, ni tongni samö tunla lojo pa tang sungdu. Shedi ta soba komye ji da komda ange tangbo ti tere. Ta nene nga zo tongma ni kongla nyambar shakura sante nga zo ma shara kapsu legi yoba yindu tanda salbo shara ma shunan rigire. Shedang ta chwe tamje tongba ni re, rangshin ji juba yob ma re, sangma samji sui shakwa re, samji ngowa te cheba china minye pa re, soba noba kyalkin noba yul sumja rangshin me pa re du sante na hako na, tanda taga chuna rigire. Chemba nga zo darong di kola salbo legire.
And so we need to disregard the harm they do to us and settle the mind in meditation upon the reality of profound emptiness. This would be the best practice, cultivating patience, to understand this true nature of reality, which is the profound emptiness. This will be further explained in the following chapter on the sixth paramita, that of wisdom. Right? But for now, it suffices to say that the meditation on emptiness in this context would be to truly understand that nothing is real, nothing is truly existent, kind of having this true existence in and of itself, and understand that everything appears as this like an illusion, like a projection of the mind, this magical illusion. And in this way, the harm doer, the harm that's been inflicted, and the one who is harmed are not truly existent, real, solid, independent, permanent beings. And in that way, we let go into the state of profound emptiness. And from within that, then patience is cultivated. But this will be again further addressed in the chapter on wisdom.
Chokwana sum sobar chebe nangsen sobe namrang tunju zanyi la kombar chebo. Cheri tunga tanglen nojela che minyamba. Tonye samala lo joba che denzo sum la yang yu zanyi ni yawa che kaso yu zanyi re chol nyershi yu zapshi ni tenji yu zapshi de te sum jala ni lo choko yoba indu ni zapshi zapshi sum tunju ta soyul kyaba che na tunju tanyi la ma ya rigire asa. In
this way, by multiplying each instance a further 3 times, we arrive at 72 types of patience in which to train. So we have had these 24 situations that require our patience, right? The 12 undesired situations happening to us and the enemies, and the obstacles to the 12 desired situations. Altogether, 24. Now, if you want to further elaborate on this practice of patience, considering this kind of situations, we can multiply them by considering the situations that has happened in the past to us, our loved ones, or enemies, and again, feel pain or cultivate patience with regard to this harm done in the past, happening right now, or if we think of the future, right? And we will already cultivate patience, anticipating something like this to happen. So then we arrive at the 72 types of training in patience.
Soba rimra sum sungso tongal tanglen nojela che menyamba ane tonyi samala lo joba song yundu ta tangbo 동아 다는데 가르잖니 자고라서는 김전숨 요래서 네 김전숨 동아를 때문에 다그 대과 제베스 동아기 대비 참마르신데 당도 랑소리 나도 엄마 레행바 뭐버제 바래 근데 레디 무조고로 세고로와 다 단다 동아 용신 바데 레지 남미도 용거요 남미 용도 레행마 제기도 매버 차고요 짱마 차고요 그래서 동아를 대버지 창마서 나면도 대버 쌍마 속에 봤더니 하고 봐인도 대한 가 쪼쪼 돈에 냠절 다 동아를 당도 랑고래요 지체 그 동아를 때문에 코로를 내중 삼전나 닝제 개디 랑도 소지 개베 동아를 개베 꿀마신다 당도 다 동아를 제소나 꿀마야 지게를 아주 대화 기부 하 기네 강에 셔라면나 최셔라 일에 대한 깔라 하보래 고 잠잠 당 안에 가서 그래 된 저거 당 년여고 년도 또된 파잠 소잠 야도만도 된데 뒤서 잘게라마도 저 약부 죽인데 깔라 하보 차고도 와 딱고 동할 제 강에 고수 아니 녀도 뭐 상하서 마음부터 있는데 되네 걸어들이 처음인도 닝보 매바 빼 강에 마보도 강에를 다른 탑재 가르던 것도 삼로 마음부터 있는데 딱잖아 하마근서 되네 랑시 개군 소도다 다음에 레기유래 다 거기서 가르쳐서 되네 쳐주게 냐면 제거로 다 탑재 약속도 쳐야
Gonda Kempala Ranshin Hamakon Sosolase Mari.
그래 랑시 잡그래
Zichiksun
그래
Ranshin Gapkere.
미카제다 쳐주다당 내가 고마서는 강에 여두 강 숙제다는 다 고랑시 개기도 와 근데 소바 구매라 소바 최기 냠는 달로중 제니 요견다한테 약보 고수군다 딜렀다 로시근 소이나 디는 가르쳐고 다 걸어 오는 인범면도 다 쳐주베마도 현면도 근데 동al 탐지한 근데 가서 그래 거루 당신제도 걸어는 인범에 뭐 하고 두고도 와 되는 걸어와 된 망해중 디 당신 나랑 찍고 강에 된데 여봐이나 디 다웃 강에 냥가 삼중 가져 있기래 딜라 하고 강에 냥가 가져 있기래 다 된절라더니 당신 인제께 거로 소소 기강에 소소 용소나 근데 디다오 미신은 연구해 하고나 인제도 휴치하고 되기로 와 왔다 디 교가르도 섬다나 왔다 나랑 선지 답을 맞아 봐도 류 디토비 류가지 줘봐 답을 맞아 봐를 때네 동화 정도로 와 왔다 가르치고 내 대법한 거고도 개월난 거고도 와 된대 전에 딱 개월지 꼴 된대 라서 봐 개월 꼴만 삼아야 가는 게 그래 어디 가서 동알라든데 중국에 말해 송사래 근데 동알게 나절게 고는 타도도 수르좀 도자게 빨좀 어두게 나든데 동알섬기 견도시베 당도난다 준저섬바 된게 다 동알 중소나 아니 녀몽바야 중도 저 교장 제스 그래서 뭐다 동알 뭐 보면 밑에 나자 정보 인정되는 동알 좀 보지냐 강에 뭐 보면 되는 거 없다 삼아 쇼르도 와 남준 거 내가 먹고 제지기라 타도 먹고 제거는 kok강에 내 나자다 강에 먹고 녀도 때밀라 타도 제왕시라 말 코나 수보 다고 야분자 두고 말아와 어때는 다 되네라 수보 동안 타도 내저양 매버서 두기래서 아니 뭐도 초당 도모니 뭐도 타도 연에 동안에 되는 더고 이래 숨네 가서 초당 도모도 도모는 대바다고 그래 개워주고 그래 동안 야고 주스는 대바다고 그래 개워지 꿀마치디 내는 야고 제 로드 미디 아니 모두 된다 더 연구도 와 된다 인도네 동아대 당도 랑고 그래서 동안 된다 순서래
Jupkin. Now the text continues and it explains the reasons for cultivating patience. And when it comes to patience, paramita of patience, there are three types of patience that have to be developed. The first one is the patience of willingly accepting suffering. The second type of patience, and they are kind of all in our text, right? The second type of patience is taking no offense with harm doers, disregarding the harm done to us by others, taking no offense with harm doers. And the third type of of the paramita of patience is the patience with regards to, profound teachings of emptiness. It's the patience of, sorry, let me see. It's the patience of having certainty in the profound Dharma. So let's look at the 3 reasons for the first type of patience, that is willingly accepting suffering, okay, taking up suffering. So what are the reasons for that? As the text states, suffering can exhaust our negative actions, so we should accept it with the understanding that it is like a broom for sweeping away our misdeeds. And so all the negative actions that we have ever committed in the past will definitely ripen as a result, as a karmic result in our lives. So whenever we experience any kind of difficulty or problem, we need to understand that this is our previously committed, karmic actions that are ripening right now. And so understanding that through this ripening, actually the karma is getting exhausted. Right? It's kind of like the suffering is like a broom that sweeps away our previously accumulated misdeeds, because now once it's ripened, it's gone. So then we actually can willingly, we accept suffering because it exhausts those previously committed negative deeds. Because once suffering happens, it means that that karma is ripened. And once it's gone, it's, those negative deeds are also gone. And so knowing that the suffering is just a result of our own actions and we are purifying them by means of experiencing the suffering, through experiencing the suffering, we actually accept the suffering. The second reason is, as the text states, that through suffering we develop renunciation for samsara, compassion for other sentient beings, and the wish to adopt wholesome actions and avoid unwholesome ones. So we should accept it in the knowledge that it spurs us on to virtue. So suffering is what leads us to develop renunciation for samsara. If we were always happy, if we were always well, never experienced a moment of pain or misery, then we will not have any wish to practice the Dharma, right? When we carried away by good times, we are not really training in the spiritual path. But it's only when something, bad happens, some suffering befalls us, we come to see this futile nature of samsara. Because when we have good times, samsara is kind of in disguise, that we can't recognize it for what it is. And so we carry it away and we don't really see samsara for what it is, and we don't practice the Dharma. But it's only the moments of suffering and pain that we kind of come to see that things are, kind of futile. And many, of course, in that moment, the thing is that if we don't have the means to, or if we don't see that there is exit, if there is kind of way out, if we just see the futility of it all, then people commit suicide, right? They take their own life, kind of not capable of bearing this kind of pain and realization of how meaningless things are in samsara. But the practitioners, renunciation has both parts, not only seeing, the futility of it all, but also seeing that there is a way out of samsara. And so there is, not committing suicide, but rather entering onto the path of Dharma and start practicing. So actually, renunciation comes when we experience suffering, seeing samsara being without any true essence, and that happens at the time of problems, at the time of trouble. So we actually, as practitioners, we welcome them, so they help us, they spur us kind of further to embark on the path. Renunciation means now we're entering onto the path. And then when we see that this kind of problems, this kind of suffering, this kind of all this misery is happening not only to ourselves but also to others, to some even more than to ourselves, right? There are many beings who suffer way more than us. Then it helps us to develop compassion. And then we understand, we also further reflect on the nature of suffering and see that they are caused by not, being able to take care of our own minds. Suffering comes about from not guarding, not training our minds. And we understand that actually, if we don't want to suffer, we need to guard, we need to come to control our minds. And with that comes a wish then to adopt wholesome actions. We understand that training mind means that we need now to train in doing wholesome actions and train in abandoning unwholesome ones, right? So in this way, we kind of propel to do more virtue, because we know if we want to be free of suffering, now we entered onto the path with renunciation. We feel compassion for others. So what to do now, right? Well, we understand that suffering will come to naught when we actually practice wholesome actions, when we do wholesome actions. So that kind of then encourages us to do more virtue. And the third reason is that suffering subdues our pride. It takes away the sting of envy, overcomes the strength of desire and attachment, and leads us on towards accomplishment. So we should accept it with the view that it is an embellishment of the mind. Also, another good property, is good quality of the suffering, is that it really reduces the amount of afflictive emotions, as it's really hard to be to be an arrogant prick when we are suffering. It kind of humbles us. And yeah, it humbles us. And also, if we're suffering, if we're sick, if we're mentally unhappy, it's also kind of we take care of ourselves, so we don't really spend time competing with others, being jealous of others. So suffering humbles us and brings us to this point of kind of cracks our heart open towards others, towards ourselves. And we don't, and so in this way, it reduces the amount of afflictive emotions, right? And through this, it leads us to accomplishments. When we think of accomplishments in the Dharma, we speak of mundane accomplishments, like worldly accomplishments, and then, of course, supramundane accomplishments, like the ones that pertain to the spiritual development. And both mundane accomplishments and this kind of supramundane accomplishments, both come from, cultivating patience, in a way that when we steep our minds in virtue, when we avoid non-virtue, when we reduce the amount of afflictive emotions, and instead we feel, deep sense of renunciation, compassion to ourselves and others, then we embark on the spiritual path. And so all these accomplishments then unfold, both mundane and transcendental.
Gyunzen sumgi nöje la jimi nyambe sobo komde tade gyunzen sumrangdo sobo komda niba deyang gyunzen sum yoyasa. Ane semjen nyomongba nyomongjen semjen mongba nyomongdi wangdo gyurne rangla nöba chena shenla taji me nyamdo nöje nyingje yuldo tene sobar cha siguru te tenje tuanda de ngazo tenje tenma kashi shwe tsare. Kaza semjen so shenla nöba jagi yobe namba dojo yore de tongo de korang la nöba jagi yore. Kaza korang semna na kondo nga jal shedang takdo la soba nanglo la kale shu dan sik deke yorwa. Di le ngamba sagi yore. Di gyudan jen jene rangshin niga la nöba mongbo chigo yore. Korang la nöba jagi yoba ina mi shenla da le nöba jal. 인도 전에 때문에 인지께서 유로라마도 뭐 공도사서 유로로 말해도 와서 또 된데 인도 섬전 탐정 가지고 인제 유로도 그런 강에 휴지 되기도 하냐 말로도 개고르까 지금 안에 대야 란데 문제지 레다 탈게 줄은 메소베 달로 너제 유로 인냠도 레렌 탐정 라라 다신 소보금 김전 예바데 파절 마데 바제 나랑라 따고래 그냥 나랑게 가서 그래 견 탐제 심진 파절라 다줘요 말에 견 탐제 나랑 딱 그래 소소 그래서 나 소된지 주교로 나도 삼아 송나 자신도 진 나다 내셔라 야부고도 되게 남바도 쇼좀 보죠 연구로 와 딱견 탐제 중사도 나진들라 되네 중국이래 나진도 요사워질라 되네 내술다만 가르토 소나야 나다 내셔라 펜토고도 민도 다 연구로 와 나다 내셔라 너바절도 민도 다 연구로 와 남성 다 편도 연구에나 가와라지금 너바자기에나 되는 가서 델라테는 콩도라랑 데네진도 랭바 탐제 딜라테는 중국이래 중서 시 탐제 딜에 돼 다 파저지 미카시지 독성교 온도 쇼르제 강에 때서 되게 여바이나 강에 강준에 때마다 된대 여마르데 강에 소소 강에 랑그러와 달라 강 랑겐데 가르도 야나 라게는 아르젠데도 와 견 탐제 도서데 네 나이 zemba서인데 다도 zem바데레도 마도 현 섬제 마르샤 자잔노지 지금 레당 랭가 지금 탐제나 강가 소건 상망가랑 셈디 나르젠데레도 하고는 견 탐제 소소 강라 랑네 근데 네 나르젠데 방에라 탑제당 고고요 바디 던져 소바금다 지레서 근데 달라테네 다그 소비 초조신 장축주비 도주주비 펜도비 시에서는 소바자고 대한 된지 알려서 왔더니 다 된다는 소 다음에는 소바솔로 kom 라게요 봐 근데 강에다 다 넣어봐야든지 대바 이 매바 장마소지 창마래야 납송아 된지 되는 송나서 제도 다 소바 kom에 거갑이야 보라 봐 소남 속 몽도 사이지 거갑라 봐 네 전주나로 여봐 가자 소바타고 까두메 콘도타고 대바메 송도 와 콘도 쇼쇼물라나 당아조 가상래 뭐 마제발라 소바 딘데 질하나 칼보통게 대바냥 콘로케지 지기 좀 그랬어 그래 칼보통 교사와 된죠 동어 제교 좀 되게 말아 나 콘도 딘데 네바 좀 버려 다 소바 검선은 네 도저 다다래 그래서 까두당 소놈 척사이지 네바 좀 쇼지 그런 소바들 상교여 봐 영상 소바되는 소놈 사이지 고급 상쇼지 인상 당도 난고 그래 어딘데 좀 송샤스 맞아
Then there are three more reasons for cultivating the second type of patience, the patience of disregarding the harm done to us by others. So it can be cultivated for the following three reasons. First is by seeing those who harm us as objects for compassion. If we think how deluded sentient beings if we think how deluded sentient beings will inflict harm even on themselves through the influence of their disturbing emotions, is it any wonder that they do so to others? Something that we have already explained, we were explained a few times, right? Basically, it might appear that the harm doers are harming others, physically, verbally, but it's just an appearance. In reality, they are harming themselves. It's they themselves, who are accumulating negative karma for their actions, and so they will be the subject to intense suffering, and they are already suffering under the sway of afflictive emotions and their ego clinging. They are miserable. So it's, being miserable, it's no wonder that they also harm others when they actually also harming themselves. And so understanding that, we, instead of anger, we feel strong compassion and empathy for those beings. The second reason is that by putting all the blame on ourselves, consider how all the harm that is done to us now must come from our own past karma and how we are conducting ourselves in the immediate situation. So whenever there is this suffering or pain, we need to, we need to understand that, we also are an equal party in creating this harm by our own ego clinging. It is through this intense grasping to I and intense grasping to mine that suffering come about. Whenever we go through life thinking, what this will do to me, what will I get out of this? Will it help me? Will this help me? Will he help me? Or will this harm me? Or will she harm me? Right? Everything is about me, me, me. We like a central piece and we assemble all the other pieces is kind of in the way of what it has to do to me, right? And so when we feel like, oh, something is beneficial for me, we are happy. When we feel something is harmful for me, we are angry. And through all of this like and dislike, being attached and then pushing things away, we are accumulating a lot of negative karma. And all these faults come really from this grasping to the self. And so we need to take responsibility that our reactions, come from our own ego clinging and strive to diminish ego clinging. And the third reason is by thinking that it's only with the help of our enemies that we can gain the merit of practicing patience, which in turn becomes a support for bodhisattva activity. In this way, we can consider enemies as friends who actually bring us benefit. Again, something that we have seen today, the fact that there will be no practice of paramita of patience without actually having those harm doers, troublemakers, right, difficult situations. Without them, we're not going to perfect the practice of patience. And that's why in the Bodhicaryavatara, in the way of the Bodhisattva, it is stated that there's no greater evil deed than anger, and there is no greater practice of austerity than patience. So there's no greater evil than anger. In a way, for a spiritual practitioner, it's like the main harm doer, because remember, yesterday we've seen that if we do not dedicate merit, if we don't dedicate our goodness, then an intense moment of anger can destroy our accumulation of merit that have been, practiced for thousands of eons. So not only like one moment of anger destroys one moment of virtue. No, one moment of intense anger destroys merit that have not been dedicated, the one that we have been accumulating for thousands, kalpas, eons. That's how, really evil this anger is. And so also there's no better, greater practice of austerity than patience. It's difficult to practice it. That's why we say austerity. And yet it results in immense amount of merit. And that's why there's no greater practice than patience. It's like the best. It's difficult, but it's really the best for our merit. And so thinking of that, we can really consider our enemies as friends, as someone who aids our spiritual practice, this enemy who helps us on our spiritual path. So we stop here. And do you have any questions? Are there any questions from anyone? No, I can see, but then, no one raised hand, no one typed, so maybe there are no questions. So perhaps today everything was very clear. Oh, Eleanor, I hope we can hear you.
Yes, yeah, I hope so too. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not even sure how to ask this question, but you were talking about the ripening of, I guess, of karma. So, things. How do I ask this? If I have peaches and they're not ripe, I might leave them in a certain place or wrap them up in newspaper, whatever, try to get something to ripen faster. Is there that notion that we can either mitigate karma or make it ripen faster or do something to, I don't know.
Great. I understand. Yeah, it's very clear.
Okay, so I would, okay.
I mean, your question
you can
is
ask
clear.
him in a more sensible way then. Thank you.
Yes, sure. Derin Khenpo gi chik na tso di le da chik na min pi kapsu na tso ngoma gi di dikpa sal drogires, se drogires, ra? Ledin min pi kapsu da chik me pa se chegires. Tene na tso tsam di shindok di mamin pa ina na tso chik di shugunala shana da chik da gyokpo min gires da tap jamija yore. Tene na tso yan di tap di jeja po yore pe so ledi ngoma sa pele chik namin du tez gyokpo da chik namin du chuye la da chik tap yore pe.
Ayo. Ko nyamnen na yare. Nyamlen butune che yongdu kerangi nyamlen mesa puyo takbo yabu rogo yo na. Kerangi namin da pe gyokbu nyongore.
Yeah.
Kerang pe na nga kewa chema nyawala dwe lega yoba lesa yoba che. Nga sayadila nyamlen yabu che ba yindu ene dongal chung chigi mizi dila ta kensan naza rao legan soto da yana naza kensa yana kaba lakwa kamba chakza che yana chidang go nazi yung sikire. Tende naza khaisha chi lemne nyawa la dwe gi lede tao dhugu yore. Nyamlen yakbo chen kwa nyamlen tokba rinpa pelda solam jolam tonglam komla rinpa yaya dwe yonde le khaisha mata pardu lam kongma de zan dho thugu mare. Ta di lam kongma de dho kugu yana le dinzo se kukurwa. Le se du tene rangshīngi le de sula du yongore. De du le de zo shuk chobo shuju nyongo be tenden shara yo mare. Shuk chobo nyongso ro chung jan nyongso gire. Ane koma le du koma la te kange tes parche rao dan kange tes chik chegire. De kange den zo namin den zo ta jobo nyongo be ta re. Namin den zo ta jobo sula lango be ta re.
Yes, there are methods in the Dharma to ripen our past actions fast, like kind of placing the fruits in the paper, or in the same way, it's the practice of Dharma. The more you practice the Dharma, the faster your karma starts ripening. Basically, in other words, you can say the formula is that the more pure your mind becomes, the faster everything ripens for you. The more we purify our minds, with more pure minds we become, everything happens very fast. For example, if we have done some act that would otherwise lead us to be born in a hell realm in next life, but then we practice the Dharma, right? We purify our minds. Then it ripens right there in this life with like some sickness. For example, cancer, we break our hand, arm or leg, right? Something like that happens. It's actually a small, inconsiderate, pain, if we compare it to if we would have gone to the hell realm in next life. But because we practice Dharma, it ripens faster and already in this life with some kind of unfortunate event, like sickness and things like that. And actually, if we think about the 5 paths, right, we have to go through the 5 paths towards enlightenment. Path of accumulation, path of joining, path of seeing. So, it is said that until some karma ripens, we cannot proceed to the next path. We actually can't traverse the path. We can't go from path of accumulation, path of joining, or from path of joining to path of seeing until we purify everything that has to be purified. So karma has to ripen so that we can move on. And how to make it ripen faster? For practicing Dharma. So you do practices, and it starts ripening. Sometimes big time, sometimes small, and you proceed to next path. And there again, of course, some karma ripens, but like the further you are on your path, the less problematic the ripening is. It's like ripens, but like a small, some kind of a small trouble, not a big deal for bodhisattvas, right? So you need to practice Dharma, and this karma starts ripening. You move on, and it still ripens, but already like in a less significant way. The more along the path you are, the more pure your mind is. Mhm. So if there's no question, I will say a little bit more about this one, the one that Eleanor asked. Yeah. The leka duinayan it's kalika produce.
나도 솔람 졸람 서바스 간지 요래 졸람 서바디 토비 갑수 냥송도 토비 마토건 잠라 냥송 디게 길레지 남이 상마 뇽뇽 그래 강자들 바르제 망보 용가다 강가다 아만다 퇴근 소도다 삼도 전에 상대라 때네 때 민득 바도다 다 내서 내가 이거 망보 저 돈에 코나 류라는스 류라 퇴근 나자 용스 그래 대 마이 막 녀라 담다 용스 그래 강에 망보 저 퇴근로 데 딱 가서 그 소바토 비엔도 냥송나 줘야지 레선 졸람 소바토 차오잖아 강 톱스인데 강사도 냥송 좀 가düne 되게 말해 전도 데 메인도 냥송 제지 레선만 거용 차고로 몰라 용 마서나 거째요 말어도 니 냥송 라나 맞게 봐잖아 미율 라나다 동아 중중 중중 좀 내가서도 아니 동아 용 심베절라 신에 그 소바토 비엔 거래 다 돈함이 이제 톱도 여디 좀 커러를 제지 레상마 남는 상마 연구 그래 커러 제지 남면 담저 영스 마신 버도 통람이 이제 줄게 두고 말아 졸람 제가 소바 저족 더 저족 말은 건데 벌 소바 값은 약간은 동할 망고 영스 그래 이 영스 사고잘 아니 통람이 이제 신에 줄게 두고 그래
Чучок, 제마디 чучок 연결해라. 소바.
그래 저족도 주저 통통마도 여 말해 저절로 냠버 샤네 잘 통람 깨거라 마도 저족이 뒤져 가가지고 말해 소바 잘라 소바도 야르게 소바를 체중 증수미여 소바 첨보 값수 아니 잘 냠버 샤 냠자 샤나네 냠자게 균절라 저절로 그래 저절에 야라 랑사르지 코스 통람 톱자래
In lam top ta chiktsar pijama di korvala kepe le chatsan mingore.
통람 마토비 통람 마토비 온라
Okay.
코로라 마 코로아게 레상마 민사르고 그래
Yeah.
디민 마사 버도 통람 깨고 보란 말해
Dene dampudi nensung dampudi nensung sungi di chik chatsan mingorera di sopa. Gemadi da dun korva chatsan la kepe le mingore. Gemadi sarson zaksa. Di jereb. Okay. To give him further detailed explanation of how this actually happens in terms of the paths and the karma ripening. So we have the 5 paths. And the second path, the path of joining, has 4 stages. And so basically at the last stages, what happens is that you're really almost ready to move to the path of seeing, which is realization of emptiness, seeing suchness. You're becoming a bodhisattva on the first bhumi. That's kind of like a very, that third path is like this dividing line between ordinary person and then a great being. So what happens right before you are on the path of seeing, before you become a bodhisattva on the ground, on the bodhisattva bhumis, you have last 2 stages there. The second to last is forbearance. It's called forbearance. The last one is the highest point. And then it's path of seeing. So when you reach the stage of forbearance of the path of joining, basically all karma of being ever born in the 3 low realms of animal, hungry ghost, and hell beings need to ripen before you move on. Because from that point onwards, actually, if you reach that stage, you will never be born in the low realms. And so all the remaining karma that might have propelled you, accumulated in the past lives, to be born in the unfortunate states, has to ripen right in that life. You are a human being, and it's going to ripen, and you will, have a really, difficult life, actually. Sick, a lot of obstacles, nothing works, so many troubles, always. Actually, it looks like, whoa, such a miserable person. But actually, this is just the last bit of a karma that would otherwise propel you to take birth in the low realms is ripening right there, so that you can actually exhaust it completely once and for all. And from that moment onwards, you're never born in the free low realms. And afterwards, you move to the there's this other stage, and basically right before the path of seeing, the first bhumi, the all karma of ever be born in samsara is going to be exhausted too, because from the path of seeing, you are out. You are actually out. You're bodhisattva and bodhisattva bhumis. You are not in samsara. You can take birth to help beings, but it's volitionally. You decide where and how. So you're really not anymore an ordinary person who is stuck in samsara. And so all that remaining karma is going to ripen too. And then in the last, the fourth stage of the path of joining, known as the supreme attribute, basically it's just a very short moment. So after you practice, on the stage of forbearance and purified your karma of being born in the low realms, purified your karma being reborn in samsara, the last stage of supreme attribute, you go into deep meditative absorption for a moment. It's a very short moment. You don't practice. You just go deep in deep meditation, and voila, you are in the path of seeing. So the last bit is actually very short. You purify everything on the forbearance, and next stage is supreme attribute, very short moment of deep meditative absorption, for which you kind of arise on the other end. You are free of samsara. You're now a bodhisattva on the bodhisattva bhumis that going towards enlightenment, free of that kind of karma. So it has to ripen, and ripens through many nasty things happening to being. So like that. That's all. Let's dedicate merit.
Keba nyamba neba kongne kondo bewara sho